All right, thank you guys. Welcome to our MLB video here today for Tuesday, May 18th. My name is Brock Page and I do sports picks for free right here on YouTube. And if you want to see which one of these YouTube picks I'm actually betting on personally here today, don't forget to check me out on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage. Now we're coming fresh off a winning day on my Patreon website yesterday. That's going to put us at 3-0 in our last three $1.99 daily best plays on that Patreon page. Once again, if you want to access today's daily best play, it's only going to cost you just $1.99. We also improved to 6-3 with a push in our last 10 board member tier package picks on that Patreon site as well. And the good news is this: we have another board member tier package pick going off here tonight. We currently have over 1,202 members who are signed up and active on that site. And if you want to join those folks and get in on the action, link for that page is in the description section below. Once again, that's patreon.com/BrockPage. Now we have a full slate of Major League Baseball action. Every team in the league playing here tonight. So let's go ahead and begin with the Giants taking on the Reds, 6:40 p.m. Eastern start time. The Cincinnati Reds are -120, totals 8 runs. Luis Castillo for Cincinnati, Anthony DeSclafani for San Francisco. Now DeSclafani's 3-1 with a 2.14 ERA and a .88 WHIP. The Giants are currently in first place in the NL West at 9 games above 500. They've also won 7 out of their last 10 ball games, and they give up just 3.4 runs per contest. They're taking on a Cincy club who's a game below 500 right now. They lost 4 out of their last 7 ball games, and they rank in the bottom 3 in runs allowed at home. Luis Castillo is just 1-5 on the year with a 7.71 ERA and a 1.79 WHIP. And when it comes to the total on this one, Cincy's 13-5 to the over at the Great American Ballpark, 28-11 to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Giants saw 7 out of their last 10 meetings with Cincy get over the number as well. I'm going to lean toward the San Francisco Giants plus $1 in the over 8 runs. Next contest, Marlins, Phillies, 7:05 Eastern first pitch. Now this game's currently off the board. Zach Wheeler for the Phillies. Looks like Nick Neidert for the Fish. Most likely a bullpen session here today for Miami. Now, Miami's won just 10 of 23 on the road this year, bottom 10 in scoring on average per contest. This Marlins lineup also strike out 10.3 times a game. They're taking on a Phillies club who's been real good on their home field. Phillies 13-6 at Citizens Bank Park, and they're in the top 10 in fewest runs allowed per game at home. Zach Wheeler is 3-2 with a 2.85 ERA and a 1.02 WHIP. He's also punched out 56 batters in just over 53 innings of work. I'm going to lean toward the Philadelphia Phillies winning this one outright for some money line cash. Next matchup, Rays, Orioles, 7:05 Eastern Standard Time. The Tampa Bay Rays are -150, numbers 9 flat. Luis Patino for Tampa Bay, Matt Harvey for Baltimore. Now Harvey comes into today's start with a 4.81 ERA and a 1.37 WHIP. The O's have also been victorious in just 6 of 21 home games. The Orioles, are averaging just 3.8 runs a game at Camden Yards. They're taking on a Tampa team who's 12-7 straight up in their road games. They currently find themselves in the middle of a 4-game winning streak. The Tampa Bay pitching staff is in the top 10 in fewest runs allowed per contest. Luis Patino also comes into today's start with a 1.54 ERA and a .69 WHIP. Now, total-wise, Tampa's 13-6 to the over on the road, 23-19 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Tampa Bay Rays -150 and the over 9 runs. Next game, Mets, Braves, 7:20 Eastern start time. This game's currently off the board. Looks like Tucker Davidson on the hill for Atlanta. No confirmed starter yet for New York. But regardless of who pitches in this one, we're still looking at a Mets, ball club here who lost 3 out of their last 4 games. just 8-12 straight up in their 20 road games as well. This Mets lineup averages just 3.4 runs a game. Meanwhile, their pitching staff is in the bottom 10 in runs allowed on the road. They're taking on a Braves club who's led by Ronald Acuna, who's hit a dozen homers and knocked in 24. The outfielder currently has an OPS of 1.013. Meanwhile, Freddie Freeman has hit 11 home runs and knocked in 27 himself. The Braves are averaging nearly 7 runs a game in their last 10 meetings with New York. I'm going to lean toward the Atlanta Braves winning that one outright on the money line. With that, we're going to dive into our next game. Red Sox, Blue Jays, 7:37 Eastern first pitch. Toronto's minus 135, totals 9. Hyun-Jin Ryu for Toronto, Eduardo Rodriguez for the Bo Sox. Roddy's 5-1 with 42 strikeouts. Boston also has the second most road wins in all of baseball. They're 12-5 straight up when they travel. Now, Boston is allowing just 3.4 runs per contest as the away team. They're taking on a Toronto club who's given up nearly double-digit hits per contest in their last 10 meetings with Boston. The Blue Jays have also allowed nearly 6 runs a game in their last 10 meetings with Boston as well. When it comes to the total in this one, Toronto's 8-6 to the over in their 14 home games. I'm going to lean toward the Boston Red Sox plus $1.15 and the over 9 runs. The next ball game, White Sox versus the Twins, 7:40 East. The Chicago White Sox are minus 120, totals 8. Lance Lynn for the Sox, Michael Pineda for Minnesota. Now, the Twins are currently 13 games below 500. They find themselves in last place in the AL Central. Matter of fact, the Twins currently have the worst record in all of baseball at just 13-26 overall for the season. This Minnesota pitching staff is in the bottom 3 in runs allowed. They're taking on a first-place White Sox club who's gone 11-7 in their 18 road games. And they currently lead the majors in scoring. Despite the absence of Jose Abreu, Yermin Mercedes, he still hit 6 home runs and knocked in 25. The catcher is currently batting .364 with a .984 OPS. Meanwhile, Tim Anderson's hit 5 home runs this year and has 62 total bases. The shortstop is currently batting .331, which is in the top 10 in the majors in that category. Meanwhile, righty Lance Lynn, he's on the bump here today. 4-1 record with a 1.30 ERA and a .98 whip. Total-wise, Chicago's 10-8 to the over when they travel. Minnesota's 25-14 to the over for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago White Sox minus 120 and the over 8 runs. Next ball game, Nationals, Cubs, 7:40 p.m. Eastern start time. The Washington Nationals are minus 120, totals 8.5. Patrick Corbin for Washington, Zach Davies for Chicago. Now, Chicago's won 3 out of their last 4 ball games, 14-8 straight up in the friendly confines. The Cubbies are in the top 10 in home scoring. They're led by Chris Bryant, who's got 10 homers and knocked in 25. Now, the infielder currently has 24 extra base hits. He's got an OPS of 1.017. Meanwhile, Javi Baez has hit 9 home runs and knocked in 27. They're taking on a Washington team who lost 6 out of their last 9. The Nats have also gotten the W in just 7 of 18 road games as well. This Washington lineup is averaging only 3.9 runs a game. And when it comes to the total in this one, Washington is 10-8 to the under on the road. 24-13 to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Cubs are currently 22-18 to the under for the entire year themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Chicago Cubs plus $1 and the under 8.5. Next game, Pirates, Cardinals, 7:45 Eastern start time. St. Louis is minus 120, total 7.5. John Gant for the Cards, JT Brubaker for Pittsburgh. But as good as Brubaker's looked this year, we're still looking at a Pirates club who's 6 games below 500, and they find themselves in last place in the NL Central. Pittsburgh's won just 9 of 21 road games, and they rank dead last in the league in scoring on average per contest. The Pirates are currently averaging just 3.1 runs per game when they bat first. They're taking on a Cardinals team who's got a .600 win percentage at Busch Stadium, and they currently find themselves in the top 10 in home hits allowed. John Gant comes into today's start with a 1.83 ERA and 29 strikeouts. Now, total-wise, St. Louis is 13-7 to the under at home. Pittsburgh's 15-6 to the under when they travel. The Pirates are also 24-16 to the under for the entire season as well. I'm going to lean toward the St. Louis Cardinals -120 and the under 7.5. Next contest, getting into that 8 o'clock slate. I'm talking about the Yankees versus the Rangers, 8:05 Eastern first pitch. The New York Yankees are -155, totals 8.5 flat. Jameson Taillon for New York, Mike Foltynewicz for Texas. And for as much as they have struggled this year, the Rangers are still playing .500 baseball at Globe Life Field. Adolis Garcia is in the top 5 in the majors in home runs with 11 of them. He's also knocked in 28, and he has a .933 OPS. Meanwhile, Nate Lowe has hit 7 homers and knocked in 26. They're taking on a Yankee club who lost their last 2 straight. They failed to cash in on the run line in 13 out of their 21 road games. This Yankees lineup averages just 3.9 runs a game when they travel. They also have Jameson Taillon on the mound here today. 1-3 record with a .540 ERA. Now, total-wise, the Yankees are 12-9 to the under when they bat first. Texas is 13-7 to the under when they bat second. I'm going to lead toward the Texas Rangers +1.5 and the under 8.5 runs. Next ball game, Brewers, Royals, 8:10 Eastern Standard Time. The Milwaukee Brewers are -$1.80, total 7.5. Brandon Woodruff for Milwaukee, Chris Bubich for Kansas City. Now, the Royals have lost 8 out of their last 10 outings, last in the majors in runs allowed at home. Kansas City's also in the bottom 3 in hits allowed per contest on their home field as well. Kansas City's gotten the W in just 8 of 20 home games. They're taking on a Milwaukee team who leads the majors in striking batters out. They're fanning over 10.5 batters a game. Milwaukee's also leading the majors in hits allowed per contest on the road. Brandon Woodruff comes into today's start with a .164 ERA and a .73 whip. Now, the hard-throwing righty also struck out 61 batters in just over 49 innings of work. When it comes to the total in this one, Milwaukee's 12-7 to the under on the road, 23-18 to the under for the entire season. Meanwhile, the Royals are 23-17 to the under on the entire year themselves. I'm going to lean toward the Milwaukee Brewers -1.5 and the under 7.5 runs in the tight window. Next matchup, Indians-Angels, 9:38 Eastern start time. The LA Angels are -$1.25, total 7.5. Andrew Heaney for the Angels, Zach Plesac for Cleveland. Now, Plesac comes into today's start with a .356 ERA and a .96 whip. And despite the Indians' struggles here recently, they're still in the top 3 in striking batters out on the road. They're taking on an Angels team who's 4 games below .500 right now. And they also give up more runs than any other team in the majors. LA is currently dead last in runs allowed per contest, bottom 3 in hits allowed per contest as well. Andrew Heaney's just 1-3 on the season with a .475 ERA. Also, keep an eye on Mike Trout. I know he kind of strained his calf yesterday. Not sure what his status is today, but my pick isn't related on Mike Trout's status. It's related on, what I just talked about here. But anyway, LA's seen nearly 70% of their home games get over the total. 23-17 to the over for the entire season. Cleveland's 12-10 to the over as the away team. I'm going to lean toward the Cleveland Indians +105 and the over 7.5. Next game, Astros, A's, 9:40 East. Houston's -110, totals 8. Christian Javier for the Stros, Sean Manaea for the A's. Manaea comes into today's start with a .440 ERA and a 1.28 whip. Oakland's in the bottom 10 in runs allowed at home, bottom 3 in home hits allowed as well. They're taking on a Houston club who's got a winning record on the road. They find themselves in the middle of a 6-game winning streak. Christian Javier comes into today's start with a 3-1 record and a 3.08 ERA. He's also struck out 44 batters in 38 innings of work, and he has just a .97 whip. The Astros allow just 3.9 runs a game. Now, total-wise, oddly enough, Houston's 11-6 to the over as the away team, 25-16 to the over for the entire season. Meanwhile, the A's are 14-10 to the over in Oakland. I'm going to lean toward the Houston Astros minus $1.10 and the over 8 runs. Next matchup, Tigers versus the Mariners, 10:10 Eastern Standard Time. The Seattle Mariners are minus 120, totals 8. Justin Dunn for Seattle, Spencer Turnbull for Detroit. The Tigers are 11 games below 500, just 6-14 straight up in their road games. This Tiger lineup is dead last in offensive hits on the road, dead last in road strikeouts at the plate. The Tigers are striking out 11 times a game on the road. They're taking on a Mariners squad who won 3 out of their last 4. And they rank in the top 10 in home hits allowed. Justin Dunn comes into today's start with a 3.72 ERA and 24 strikeouts. And when it comes to the total in this one, Seattle's 13-9 to the under on their home field. Detroit's 24-17 to the under for the entire season. I'm going to lean toward the Seattle Mariners minus 120 and the under 8 runs. Next matchup, D-backs, Dodgers, 10:10 Eastern start. This game's currently off the board. Julio Urias for the Dodgers, Merrill Kelly possible but not confirmed for Arizona. The D-backs are on a 2-game losing streak, 3-7 straight up in their last 10. Arizona's really struggled on the road this season, winning just 9 out of 24 road games. Their pitching staff's also in the bottom 3 in hits allowed, bottom 5 in striking batters out. They're taking on a Dodger team who leads the majors in offensive walks at the plate. This LA lineup's averaging nearly 5 free passes a game. The Dodgers have also won 6 out of their last 8 ball games. They currently have a record of 13-6 straight up at home. Julio Urias is 5-1 on the season, with a 3.26 ERA and a .91 whip. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the LA Dodgers winning this one outright for some money line cash. With that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Rockies versus the Padres, 10:10 Eastern first pitch. The San Diego Padres are minus 230, total 7 runs. Blake Snell for the Pods, Austin Gomer for Colorado. Now, Gomer's just 2-4 on the year with a 5.49 ERA and 21 walks. The Rockies have the fewest road wins in the majors right now. They're an embarrassing 2-15 straight up as the away team. Colorado's also dead last in road scoring, dead last in road runs allowed. The Rockies average just 3.1 runs per contest when they bat first. They're taking on a San Diego club who's 13-10 straight up as the home team. They currently find themselves in the middle of a 4-game winning streak. The Pods are also 7-1 straight up in their last 8. They currently lead the entire big leagues in runs allowed. This Padre pitching staff is giving up only 3.2 runs a game. Now, pitcher Blake Snell, he comes into today's start with 49 strikeouts and just over 34 innings pitched. When it comes to the total in this one, just 1 out of San Diego's last 10 ball games stayed under the total of 7 runs. Meanwhile, Colorado's officially 24-18 to the over thus far in the year. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres minus 1.5 and the over 7 runs. And with that, now it's time for our quick pick recap, powered to you by my Patreon website. I like San Francisco plus $1 over 8 runs. I like Philadelphia winning that one outright for some money line cash. Give me Tampa Bay minus 150 over 9 runs. I also like Atlanta winning their contest outright for some money line cash as well. I like Boston plus $1.15 over 9 runs. Chicago White Sox minus $1.20 over 8. Chicago Cubs plus $1 under 8.5. St. Louis minus 120 under 7.5 runs. Texas Rangers plus 1.5 under 8.5. Milwaukee minus 1.5 under 7.5. Cleveland plus 105 over 7.5 runs. Houston minus $110 over 8. Seattle minus 120 under 8 runs. I like the LA Dodgers winning their contest outright on the money line. Before I give you my next and final free pick for the video, one final reminder that we are 3-0 in our last 3 $1.99 daily best plays on my Patreon website. We're also 6-3 with a push in our last 10 board member tier package picks on that Patreon page as well. I'm going to lean toward the San Diego Padres minus 1.5 and the over 7 runs. With that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon. If you guys decide to get a package here today, just keep in mind Patreon's going to bill you the day you sign up, then the first of every month following that. But most importantly, guys, got to thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at patreon.com/BrockPage.